Hey guys, it's Matt. Coming up are segments from a recent video from the Danny Minley channel. He's hearing this now going, what? It's a channel that gets very little views, but, Danny and I have corresponded back and forth at least a few times in the comments, and he has tried to help me on occasion understand a few things. He's a really, really big thinker. I mean, you want to talk about thinking outside the bookends? I mean, blows past him all the time. Most of his videos are in French. Many ideas I absolutely agree with, others I don't. I'm not recommending the channel or anything at this point, but this video or this presentation has too many incredible points to not be put out there, and I chime in from time to time and help everybody understand, I think, or my interpretation of what Danny's saying. And if my interpretation of what he's proposing is not correct, I'm sure he'll let me know, and I'll make those corrections. But I think this is absolutely fascinating. It relates to the human being an informational field first and consciousness first, not the physical. The physical comes last, and this relates to what's going on now with the renting of the movie Action Jacksonation. It's actually very good news, this perspective, if for those forced into being in a situation for their job, or they're a healthcare worker where they're being forced into it. This is about the best news that you're going to get if you're going to be forced into it. So here it comes.
Good morning, Vietnam. Your DNA doesn't exist. Nobody has ever seen your DNA. Yeah, you live in a false reality. Nobody has seen DNA physically. So it's just a model. It's a model like the atomic model. It's the same. So it's all BS, bullshit. Yeah, everything is immaterial information. And information can manifest in reality. And the DNA was a nice trick to continue the materialistic science, which is totally bullshit. So they had to invent all this material stuff and everything. Like you can see some protein twisted together, having genes in them and all the bullshit.
Okay, discussing that first segment, me personally, Matt, do I think DNA is all BS, all created by the system, like the stories that Vintage Space tells about what happens when things blast off? I don't know. I don't know how much of that science is real or not. And I'll tell you my thoughts on that a little bit later. But first, in terms of whether it's real or not, there's a lot of confusion between what's DNA versus a chromosome versus a gene versus this and that. And let's just at least get it straight the way science presents it so we can understand, because everybody's confused about this all the time. Okay, again, this is the way science presents it, and I'll try to employ some really stupid memory devices so we finally remember how this works. The smallest level is the DNA, right? Cell's genetic material. That's the smallest level. The next level up is the gene. The gene is a segment of DNA that makes certain proteins. Oh, how do I repair this type of tissue? The gene puts the code on how to make the protein so your body can, say, rebuild certain types of tissue. Okay, the next level up is the gene. The next level up on top of that is the chromosome. So the chromosome contains certain genes. Okay, so chromosome sounds like a home, kind of like Billy Madison, go to your home. But chromosome, home is big. Things are in the home. So Google Chrome, that's probably about the chromosome. That's probably about manipulating the chromosome by using Google Chrome. But we'll leave that ridiculous conspiracy aside for now. Chromosome's the biggest. Then we work down. Then there's the gene. There's somebody named Gene in the house. Somebody named, and all that, this is person, all they do is eat Atkins. They just make protein. They don't even eat any carbs. So they have like 8 egg omelets filled with cheese. Atkins is a gluttonous, disgusting diet. And you just sit on the pot all day long trying to get it out the other end because nothing can be absorbed. It works. You will lose weight. You'll tax your alimentary canal in your digestive system 40 years, and for every 4 months you do it. But sorry, I'm kind of wavering. Chromosome is the home, the biggest. Then the gene. Person inside the home named Gene. She makes proteins because she's on Atkins. Or I guess there's a guy's called Gene too. He fries up a bunch of meat because he's on Atkins. That's a chromosome. Okay, the home. Then the gene makes the proteins. And made up of, the gene is made up of, it's a segment, supposedly, of DNA. DNA strands in different sequences make a gene, so certain proteins can be made so the body can repair itself. DNA smallest, gene is in the kitchen, the bigger one, and then inside the home, inside the chromosome. Hope that was stupid enough so we remember that going forward. What Danny's basically saying is they present something in court, DNA markers, evidence on your specific DNA, just little lines, and he's saying, this is bull crap. I mean, I don't know. Personally, Matt, I don't know. I don't know how much of that science is real or not. But the important takeaway in understanding how the system works, related to what Danny's saying, the important takeaway is whenever science, which is a system or a minion on behalf of the screen, on behalf of society, how will they always present something if they have two choices? Will they present it as the physical? Everything is tied to the physical. Everything's tied to the body. Everything's hard. Rocks will drop on your foot and hurt you. There's nothing in the ether. There's nothing spiritual about your experience here. They always tie it to the physical, or do they usually err on the side of the spiritual? Of course. Everything science does is meant to drag your perception down towards the physical, away from the spiritual. So I don't know anything about why science presents genes, chromosomes, and things like that the way they do, and the evidence that's there to back it up. But just understanding how this reality itself and the minions that run around trying to push its agendas, how it does business, here we go again. Just knowing how it does business can bring you to a conclusion. What's its nature? Its nature is such that I'd have to agree with Danny. I don't know. But it's going to, the reality itself, through its science, through its minions, it's going to push every explanation that's important. It's going to give it a physical reason. There's a physical, see, it's just blocks that fit together, square pegs in round holes. It's just, there's never a spiritual side or science talking about an energetic side of you. They get into the quantum. A lot of sciences get into the quantum, and then that's that weird gray area, because eventually they have to get in the quantum. You can't explain the physical back and back in Russian nesting dolls forever. But then it gets all, you have people like Einstein saying spooky action at a distance, and just saying, oh, let us scientists debate that. We'll do the Einstein-Bohr's debates. Let us debate that. You're too stupid to debate that. Stupid. That's what they'll say to us. So, but Danny's, I have to, if I had to flip a coin or whatever, I don't know, but I agree with Danny, because they'll always push a stupid physical explanation for everything. And they're always hiding our spiritual side. So why would I give science the benefit of the doubt that this is being presented legitimately? Why would I do that, knowing what its nature is?
Let's talk about how they see the genes, between brackets. Actually, they invented a way to manifest the immaterial. So they take human body fluids, blood or anything, and they will put they will put these 4 proteins. They will put some proteins, those 4 that they decided to use as a way to make this immaterial stuff manifest. They put them, and they will make some electricity move between two electrodes, and this will make a pattern, like some lines, and they will tell you this is a gene, So it doesn't make any sense how something which is in the nanometers scale will show with the eye, like some line, and you will say there is this protein here, then nothing, then the other protein. So it's all bullshit. They invented something to manifest reality and built on it.
If you're not completely understanding Danny's point, I think the most important point, if I could speak for Danny, like in the movie The Right Stuff, what Gus is saying here. What Gus is saying here, what Danny's saying here is that they're always trying to find a way to express everything about the human being in a physical form. Oh, look at these DNA lines that prove this person did the crime, or they're always trying to express it in a physical science's nature. And I think Danny would agree that there's a whole lot going on with us that's not the physical. There's nothing to do with the physical. They're always converting it, putting it through their spiritual meat grinder and converting it into the physical. So I think that's kind of the most important takeaway here of what Danny's saying. What Gus is saying here, it's not about pee, it's about monkey.
Yes, and when it comes to those PCR tests, they take a fluid of you, some information from you, which is still connected with the informational field, and they will put themselves the protein they are looking for. They call it a primer. They don't tell you where it comes, this primer, nothing. They just put it inside, and then they will heat, put some heat, then cool, heat, cool. And those are cycles till something manifests, and they will say, you have this, or there is this, or not. So they put themselves in the beginning, the primer, and all the soup they put in, and they decide what they are looking for, and they will find it if they want. No, it's a matter how much you will do the cycles of heating and cooling the stuff. The guy who invented this bullshit test is the one who said it himself. So, what is in reality, what is happening? You are related to an informational field. When you give any fluids of you, those fluids are connected with your informational field. And they are processing in some informational science on you without you understanding it. When you give a fluid of you and something is going to be done on it, it is informational science or black magic. There is no difference. Magic is science. Science is magic. This is why somebody who wants to curse somebody with some, I don't know how they call it, some black magic, he will need a piece of hair, a piece of blood, a piece of something, of skin. This is how we do. You need an access to the informational field.
Pretty clear cut, but Danny's saying, you're an informational field probably before you're anything physical. Nothing in science or standard science or Bill Nye and jerks like that will ever talk about this aspect, the informational field. And it's always, and again, attempt to convert everything into the physical. So that's what people relate to. And it's interesting what Danny said about needing a piece of skin or a piece of hair to go along with the black magic or go along with the curse. You need access to somebody's specific informational field. What are they in all the stories? What are Harry Potter? Hermione has a hair. She has a hair from the Bellatrix Lestrange. She has a hair. So then they can make their potion to convert themselves to make them look like Bellatrix Exchange. The hair, access to her informational field, things that science will never talk about. Been one of the reasons for science, and not that they're all little scientists at the University of Akron are all in on it, but it's just what they've been brainwashed to believe through a system or by a system that just wants the human being only relating and identifying with the physical. It's a very manipulative and deviant part of the spiritual war, always relating to the physical, always relating everything through the avatar, through the body. Like the old Scion commercial, the little deviants. There's only one other person listening that knows what I'm talking about.
When they will process this kind of stuff on you, it can have an impact on you. And if you are in, let's say, harmonized with this stuff, like you believe in this stuff, it will also make the stuff work. You will be positive, in this case, between brackets. Or this test will make you positive if you are expecting it. So you will be connected to the field of the belief system, of the disease in itself. It's an informational field. You will be connected. But if you are strong and you think all of this is bullshit, you will be disconnected. Even if they tell you are positive, they try to bullshit you, you will not believe them. So your field is very strong. I'm going to tell you that very powerful people, spiritual people with big ego, I'm talking about the real ego, like you are really structured. This kind of people, if you take their blood and you put it in a blood bank and somebody has an accident and you give him a very powerful blood, this blood can kill because it's too powerful. The person is too powerful. The field is too powerful.
I think this is similar to many of my beliefs about intention. And I think Danny would agree. People have emailed me like, per my job, Matt, I've got to watch the Carl Weathers movie. I've got to get the action Jacksonation for my job. And I'm saying, who knows how damning it is. But I think Danny would agree in what he's saying. If you put yourself, or you are a powerful being and put yourself into a powerful state with absolute pure and powerful intention, Danny's basically saying, again, you could overcome. You'll hear him say later, you can overcome anything. You're just too powerful of a person. If you've got yourself in a state where you're not sure and you've got all the learned helplessness that this society has put on you as baggage, then you're not going to have that powerful field. You understand, you are an informational field first before the physical. See, that would, quote, trump anything. If they put a nanobot in there in my arm or whatever, a nanobot, it's going to change my being or my nature of myself. That's still the physical. The physical comes after the informational field. The physical comes after the quantum or the consciousness. The Big Bang comes after consciousness. So I think Danny would agree. If you truly realize this, Neo stopping bullets. Well, how do I stop bullets? When you realize certain things about yourself, Neo, you jerk, you won't need to. You just will. You just will. And that's kind of what Danny's saying here.
So this is the black magic they are playing. It's all informational. And I think also they are very themselves scaring the people about the vaccine in the internet. Listen carefully, because they don't want strong people to have the vaccine. So if this informational vaccine will come into them, they will overwhelm this and maybe connect to the original entity which is trying to get into the humans and be a danger to the entity. So all this information, they are trying to make a selection between the sheeple that can carry this new information in the humanity and the very strong people.
Look, guys, I don't agree with everything being presented here, but Danny, it's an exercise in thinking big. There is never a downside to doing an exercise and actually blowing way past the bookends. So what does this bring us back to? For months we're going, why do they have these stories about the negative side effects of what can happen if you watch the Carl Weathers movie on an old VCR tape, Action Jackson? Why are they putting these stories out about the side effects? And why are they, in a certain community, why are they demonizing Melvin P. Gates? He's being demonized on purpose. The pie in the face thing was all a setup. You think somebody got close to Melvin P. and put a pie in his face? Set up. They want a certain percentage not to do it, not to find the old Carl Weathers VCR tape. And all we could come up with fine, I'll just say all I could come up with was like first grade responses. Saying, well, if 15% of the population is not willing to watch the Carl Weathers movie, then that leaves them with a justification to keep the tracking army and tracing army and everybody that was hired and every infrastructure that was put in place, justification to leave all that there, keep harassing people on the phone, call you on the phone while you're trying to have dinner. Were you next to somebody that has a positive test? I mean, just constantly in your face tracking and apps and all that. Sure, it does. If you have 15% that don't get it or don't watch the movie, you can justify leaving all that infrastructure in place. But it's never that simple, is it? It's never that simple. Danny's saying, basically it's almost like the Harry Potter concept of a Horcrux. Like only certain hosts can carry something. Like a hosts need to carry something that's in the Carl Weathers movie. And a strong person, first off, he's saying a strong person can just overcome it. So think about that aspect. If you're forced to get it as a teacher or a hospital worker, think about what Danny's saying in terms of you can make your informational field so strong. They couldn't do anything to you in the physical that would overcome the nature of who you are in your informational field if it's strong enough, if you're powerful enough as an individual. But besides that, he's saying it could be they might need hosts to carry something. And there's no way a strong person that has their informational field set right, he's saying not only would it backfire on them carrying the information, he's saying almost like it would be dangerous to the parasite here or whatever stands behind the screen if certain people get or watch the Action Jackson movie, and then they could almost like find a way to beat it or overcome it. And I'm thinking, what am I thinking? The last scene in The Matrix. Neo's fighting with Smith. It's kind of even, but Smith is generally winning, generally beating him up a little bit more than Neo's beating him up. And then Neo comes to the conclusion, he's like, I can't beat him. I cannot beat him. So he succumbs to it. He lets himself be whatever. Smith puts his fingers in him and he lets himself be transformed, because once he takes in the information, Smith's information and code or whatever, then he beats it that way. He beats it on the informational field level. He doesn't see the physical battle has ended. It's the informational side or the spiritual side where Smith is beaten. This is very similar to how Danny is presenting this. And they don't want, if they truly knew what Neo was, Smith would not have put his fingers in him. He would have continued to try to beat him up, I guess. But once that happened, and Danny's saying something similar, it's very, very interesting. I mean, look, who knows? And a lot of this is way out there, but thinking inside the bookends don't work no more.
Yes, so they are wanting to program the people with information and avoid the strong people. This is what I think is happening.
Guys, this gets me thinking of a segment of the truth community that they might love for this reason. I don't know, guys. Again, I'm just floating this. This seems to resonate me. A segment of the truth community will say, oh, what's going to be in the Carl Weathers movie when they put it in you? Oh, it's going to be filled with smart dust. It's going to be filled with 7 of 9 Star Trek Voyager nanobots. It's going to have things in it. See, all that is getting the informational field conscious creators, people like us, thinking about the physical, something physical. It's all about the physical, overcoming the physical. Something physical is in it. Where I think Danny would say, what Gus is saying here is this is a back door, man. It's about information, putting in something in your informational field, which ultimately, what's the point of that? Relates to spiritual essence or a way out of here or whatever. So I think maybe they love the truth channels that come in and talk about everything that's going to be in the movie Action Jackson Ace, and everything that's going to be in that movie. It's all about the physical, smart dust, things, nanobots, old rusted out dishwashers and dryers. Everything that's going to be in that thing. See, it's getting creative, powerful people to just think physical, and that's one of their tricks. So I like what Danny's saying here. No, think of it in terms of information, but then I think Danny would also say that if you're powerful enough, it's like somebody shooting bullets at Neo. That doesn't affect my informational field. My powerful spiritual nature is so strong, it doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter what any information they try to put in me. It just will simply be rejected, like the strongest, bad example, the strongest firewall on a computer in the world, that sort of thing.
Nothing will happen to you if you are a powerful being, Even if physically you get diminished or something, if there is some really harmful chemicals, it can affect you, like shitty aluminium and stuff. This, yes, can affect you. But if it's in information, what they call RNA and all this stuff, this will do nothing to you. And when you think logically, how can a small quantity of liquid change your whole genome, your whole chromosomes in your body? How is it possible, this epigenetics, to touch the trillions of cells at once, all of them? It's impossible. What is changing is your field of information. You get into that field, you connect to it, and then you manifest it into your cells. So it is happening in the informational fields.
Makes a lot of sense what he's saying. Well, the truth community will talk about, oh, this is the action Jackson is an RNA. It's this and that. It's, well, you know how much of that is in cells and trillions of cells. So whatever, like it's like a Juicy Juice box or whatever they squirt in you, a Juicy Juice box is going to go through trillions of your cells, and physically it's going to be able to accomplish a rewrite. And I mean, Danny's right. It's impossible. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay, if they were that sophisticated to do that physically, then why do they need it in that format? They would put it in a damn Coke Zero. You just take it in that way. They'd insert a little Juicy Juice squirt into a soft pretzel. When I go to a Wawa, I'd bite it off, and then it'd be transformed. I'd lose my soul. It doesn't. It's Danny's make a lot of sense. It don't make no sense. If it's all about, he's saying it's about information. It's about transforming or trying to change the informational field, which a weak person will succumb to. A strong person will shrug it off. And no, I'm not saying it's okay. Now, Matt's saying it's okay per what this guy Danny's saying. Everybody can go get Action Jacksonation. Go rent the movie at Blockbuster for 99 cents. It's on the specials rack. I'm not saying that. I'm not doing it. I'm going to err on the side that I'm just saying what Danny's saying here makes a lot of sense, and it's an exercise in thinking big. It's something to think about, and it's especially important if you have to. If you're a teacher that needs to put food on the table, or you're you're a hospital worker or a nurse or whatever. It's like, what am I going to do? Go live in a cardboard box, or I have to do this to keep my job? Well, don't forget what Danny's saying here. The power of intention. You are consciousness and information far before you're physical. Do a ritual. Do your own little anti-spell or whatever. Say, this can't affect me spiritually if you have to do it. I believe in all of that intention, and I don't dabble in magic or any of this. But what I'm talking about is all related to that sort of thing. You know, magic doesn't just get farted out of the wind. It comes from the power of within. Whether you dabble in magic or not, you're the same powerful person. You're not one of these mind-dead NPCs.
This is epigenetic. Epigenetic is you receive a shock, you are shocked, and you change in the informational fields, and then it's manifest in your cells. This is how it's not a materialistic event. It's an informational event.
You know, people are probably like, Matt, shut up and let Danny talk. But it's important to remind people what epigenetics is. It's a big field and topic now, and everybody's heard it, but almost everybody's confused about it. Epigenetics, genes, okay, your gene is inside the house, inside the chromosome, the home. And the genes make proteins in a certain way so the body's healthy. And epigenetics says environmental aspects, environmental influences, even stress, chemicals in the air, can affect the way genes make proteins properly or not properly, which would lead to, say, a tumor or a certain type of cancer or a certain disease or sickness. Epigenetics, two twins placed in different parts of the world. One is exposed to the chemical dump that comes out the back of Union Carbide's factory in Delhi, and horrible water and sanitation, and the other person is given fresh fruits and vegetables and free range this, and the epigenetics then plays on the gene's ability to make proteins, which ultimately affects health. It's the opposite of just somebody saying, oh, it's in somebody's genes to be healthy in this way, or it's in somebody's genes that they can, smoke till they're 90 without having any issues at all. So epigenetics has the E, right? E for environment. Epigenetics, environment. Epigenetics sounds like Epcot. Epigenetics, Epcot. If you want to consider how toxic that environment is for kids and for adults, if you do the around the world bar tour, that's toxic, man. Epigenetics, Epcot. Toxic. So I don't know. It's a decent way to remember it.
So if this RNA can change the body of the humans, it is Before that, it is changing their information. They accept the host, they accept this alien, so they become a host of it. They are overwhelmed by it, by the information. They are weak people. But the strong people, this will not happen, and I'm very sure they are trying to avoid them. Okay, so everything is informational. You get the idea. It's all magic, black magic, informational science. Informational science and magic is the same.
Danny doesn't quote Arthur C. Clarke, and the reason I'm bringing it up is they actually put Arthur C. Clarke's quote into that House resolution, bill, HR, whatever, where they proposed making magic a national treasure. The U.S. Congress proposed in a bill, in a statute, 3 or 4 years ago, that magic become a national treasure. And one of the bullet points listed, I don't know if it was ever passed, guys. I don't think for whatever creepy things they're up to, whether it passed or not, doesn't really matter. Just putting it out there, they established whatever they were trying to establish. They had a bullet point listing Arthur C. Clarke said in so many years, science of a certain level or technology of a certain level is indistinguishable from magic. That was one of the bullet points listed in an actual bill from Congress. And people just think, nothing to see here. Everything's normal in this world. You conspiracy theorists, so just calm down. Simmer down now, you conspiracy jerks. Nothing to see here. It's just completely normal that Congress would put forth a bill making magic a national treasure. I'd be more apt to make Mickey Rooney a national treasure. I mean, what they're telling you. But anyway, we're just seen as crazy. Let's just forget about our naysayers. But I'm sure Danny probably knows about that. But what he said, of course, is exactly related. And because they dropped that Arthur C. Clarke quote in the bill, well, that's them actually telling you that their technology is this modern age's magic. They're telling you. We don't even have to figure that out. They just tell you in a damn HR House resolution bill.
So it's all an artificial construct. So focus on the informational side of reality and try to decode this reality, what they are doing in a point of view of information. What information they want to put in the body, which kind of humans they are targeting. They will avoid the powerful people with the strong field because they can maybe destroy the lizard that is behind this crap they put in the humans if they connect with its field. So it's a game of shadow, of hidden cards. It's all informational game.
Once again, we get back to The Matrix being an incredible truth drop movie. And people think the Wachowski brothers they just wrote it. 2 guys, sitting around. Should we write a movie today? What's his name? Larry? Yeah, let's just 2 guys. No, look, of course they were involved. The Wachowski brothers and sisters. They're both now. They were one, now they're the other. They were involved, of course. They're probably talented, skilled directors. They didn't. That movie was laid down by the deepest, darkest back room. There's so much truth in it. I'm not saying we're in a pod. We're just floating in a pod or anything. But the truth, for example, the Construct program, Neo gets to learn Kung Fu and he's fighting Morpheus in the Construct program and he can't hit him. He's like, come on, you're faster than this. Hit me. And he's in Morpheus with his horrible overacting. I don't mean to ruin the Matrix for you. You know how his acting is just overacting. But, it's kind of like he's kind of a beloved character. We can look past the pathetic nature of that overacting. He says, do you think it matters in this place? I don't know what he says. In this place, does it matter how fast you are? In this place. He's just saying, well, this Neo knows is some sort of video construct simulation. So how fast he is physically, it doesn't matter in this place. Lawrence Fishburne, my favorite speech is the gentrification from Boys in the Hood. He's like, how do you think these drugs and all this stuff gets in here? This community is like, we ain't got no planes. He doesn't say that. We ain't got no ships. The gentrification speech from Boys in the Hood. But this is the speech to Neo saying, in this place, does your physicality matter? And it's a truth drop. It's because what Danny said in earlier, you have to, in this place where you are right now in this earth, and it's proven proven by anybody with a clue that consciousness before the physical, informational field before the physical, weird stuff at the quantum before the atom, before the physical. The physical is beyond second fiddle. It comes last. It's the last outward manifestation. But what does this whole reality do through its little minions? And they think they're so smart with all their degrees and their business cards and their cocktail parties and their tenure. All they do is will just convince you that everything roots through the physical. They're not in on it. They're just doing what the reality wants them to do, thinking they're all smart in doing it. Every day, if you remind yourself of one thing, consciousness first, informational field, like Danny says, first, then the physical follows. If people, there's a Chi Master. There's a show, is it on Prime, called Master? I think it's just called Master, about a Qigong master. It's completely real. He has these ancient techniques from China. The guy is able to bend metal because he changes almost like its molecular structure. He puts paper up and he just heats it up and the paper just starts to smoke in his hand. It's not magic tricks. There's a whole host of things that ancient man could do that has been beaten out of us or removed from us. It's all real. He's not changing the physical because he's some kind of god. In some way, he's understanding its informational field. Or Neo, once he sees that other truth drop in the Matrix, once Neo, at the end, he's no longer in the Matrix. He just sees the code. He just sees the code. He sees the green code. And once you see the code, or once he sees the code, then the agents come and fire bullets, and he's like, just puts his hand up. Well, what's this? It's all, he just sees the code. There's no more physical. It's this truth drop in the Matrix. And are we ever going to get to that level? We don't have to get to that level. If we got in, we're at every disadvantage not to get to that level. Our whole lives we've been bred to believe this, everything's so real, everything's so physical. If you ever got to that level, a few people, a Qigong healing master, and there's only 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%, everybody else is not going to get to that level, but there would be no more ailments. There would be no disease. You know, this is potentially how a lot of faith healers work. I know a lot of it's faked, but I don't think every single time it's ever been on TV, every single one, it's been on for decades after decades. In the 70s, these faith healers, you know, per the power of the Lord, you know, just get up out of and they spring up out of their wheelchairs. People screaming at me and make, Matt, those evangelists make Christianity look bad. You know, get off of that. They're not representative of what it. Okay, fine, but I don't think it's all faked. I think some of it is, but the power of the mind. The person that they believed every bit of it, and they did rise up out of their chair. I believe it's both. People will then write a blog somewhere. Matt believes every single person that rose up out of their wheelchair was all real. No, I'm not. They'll take it the wrong way. I'm saying a lot of it is faked, but I'm saying a lot of it also is not. That is the power. Once you have pure faith and you connect to, you know, the informational field or something beyond the physical. And I think it does relate to these faith healers in some instances. I think in some cases it's fake. Okay, don't misquote me. It always happens. I float something out that Matt thinks this. What? No, I'm just saying. In some instances, it probably is the power of the mind. It's like a placebo pill on super steroids, believing you're being healed through your God. Of course, it's a placebo pill times a million. Of course, you wouldn't need to fake that in every case. But anyway, guys, it's just important to remember these, you know, if nothing else, consciousness, informational field, physical's last. What does that mean if you have to see the movie Action Jackson? What does that mean? I always believe there's a way to overcome almost anything with intention. You have to give your soul away, your spiritual connections away. They can't take that from you. We put something in your arm and now we've got you. Does that really make sense to you? You're so powerless that, Matt's promoting no, I'm not. Just saying, there's thousands of people that are tens of thousands of people in our community in a very sticky situation. This is on the table. A truly powerful person is not going to have their soul ripped out of them like the little vial, the needle with the vial is Stormbringer from the Michael Moorcock series. Upon the last blow, the sword sucks your soul and feeds the vitality into Elric in the Michael Moorcock series on Elric. I don't think the little thing in the arm is going to be Stormbringer, the stealer of souls. I don't think so if you're a truly powerful person. I believe the people here, we are the most powerful people here. That's why we see through all this crap. That's why there's no veils, very few veils left for us. So no, I think what could Superman overcome or whatever? And if you think of it in that way, I'm not promoting y'all get it, or don't, people will misquote me. It's what they do. No, I'm just saying there's a lot of stock in what people like Danny are saying. All right. Not Danny was saying. And I don't know. We absolutely should keep it on the table in this context. Am I going to go out and run and sign up for it? No, I'm not doing it. I'm going to err. If I can avoid it, I'm going to err on the side of never doing, of course. I'm going to err on that side. Why would I? No, I don't want to take any chances or whatever. There's a lot of people that aren't in the situation that I'm in. And by the way, Pam works for the Big P company, the Big P pharma company, and she got it because I guess their employees have access to it before most, and she's sick as a dog. She never gets sick, and I mean almost never. I've never seen an immune system like this. She eats horribly. I mean, every so many years I'll get whatever is called the flu, and I'll be in bed, I'll have hallucinogenic dreams at 102.5, 103 degree fever. It happens, every so many years for me. It's just common for me. She never gets that. She got it just about, she got, she saw the Carl Weathers movie about 7 or 8 days ago, and last 2 or 3 days, 4 days, sick as a dog from her perspective. She never gets that sick. So I said, well, obviously there's got to be a correlation. She's like, no. And then she finally sees it. Yeah, I really haven't been this sick in almost 20 years. So of course there's a correlation, cause and effect. People just don't. They always don't. They don't do a good job with cause and effect. And sometimes it's so simple. Somebody just starts sneezing. Like, I can't understand what's wrong with me. Well, didn't you just say your daughter just got a new animal, or your daughter just brought home a bunny rabbit? Well, that's the new element in your life. It's simple cause and effect. You think that's it? It's simple cause and effect, but people usually can't. Well, not people usually, but a lot of times they just can't see it. Well, yeah, your daughter brought a new animal in the house. Now you start sneezing. Well, of course that's what it is. Anyway, enough on that. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Danny, for that interesting video. And I hope I interpreted your intention properly.